The announcement from Washington this week hit like a sledgehammer. The U.S. has paused military, material, and intelligence support for Ukraine, literally pulling the plug on vital gear, equipment, support, and weapon systems. Why? President Trump, failing to make President Zelensky grovel in the White House, has decided to make Ukraine bleed on the battlefield. I'm Navy SEAL Chuck Farr, and this is the Kyiv Post's Point of Impact. The pause halts over $1 billion in aid, the functional equivalent of a devastating Russian strike on Ukrainian logistics. U.S.-made ATACMS long-range missiles, which pushed back Russian logistic hubs 200 miles, well, they're no longer coming. HIMARS rocket systems face choked ammo supplies, diminishing precision strikes on Russian troop concentrations. Patriot air defense batteries, Kyiv's shield against Iskander and hypersonic Kinzhal missiles, are running low on interceptors. There'll be no new PAC-3 missiles to defend sleeping civilians as Russia launches cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and up to 130 Shahed murder drones in a single night. Ukrainian artillery, the queen of battle, is also hit hard. Ukraine is already outnumbered in artillery tubes and volumes of fire, and now faces dwindling supplies of American-made 155mm shells, which are critical for counter-battery fire and maneuver support. Without these, Ukrainian soldiers will die. The freeze extends to javelins and stingers, 10,000s and thousands respectively, that once turned Russian armor and helicopters into scrap. Much-needed armored vehicles, like 300 Bradleys, 1,300 armored personnel carriers, and 5,000 Humvees, they sit idle in U.S. desert depots, and they're not going to be rolling through Donbass mud anytime soon. Electronic warfare systems, drones, comm gear, spare parts for F-16s and M1 Abrams tanks are also caught in this chokehold. Ukraine has maybe 6 months before its stocks of ammunition and supplies will run dangerously dry. And each day without resupply gives Putin's meat grinder a sharper edge. Worse still, Trump's decision suspends intelligence support, overhead imagery, signals intelligence, and other critical data that have been Ukraine's eyes and ears against Russian aggression. This isn't just a diplomatic slap, it's a death sentence for countless Ukrainian soldiers and civilians. The loss of U.S. satellite imagery is catastrophic. Since Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022, these feeds tracked missile launchers, troop movements, and supply depots, enabling Ukraine to anticipate attacks and position defenses. Without them, Ukraine is blind to Russian buildups and forced to rely on slower, less reliable means of reconnaissance. The result? Less warning time, more missiles that hit targets, and more civilian funerals. Signals intelligence, which intercepted Russian military communications, also gave Ukraine a heads-up on missile salvos and drone waves. This helped counter Iranian-supplied Shahed murder drones terrorizing cities by targeting power grids and civilian housing. Now, with signals intelligence gone, air defense crews are left guessing, and more drones will evade interception, causing blackouts, fires, and inevitably civilian deaths. U.S. intelligence allowed Ukraine to ambush Russian columns before they could mass for an attack. As seen in early Kharkiv offensive battles, where precious intel turned Russian maneuvers into killing fields. Without this edge, Ukraine is reduced to reactive fighting, waiting for the Russian enemy to strike first. Putin's commanders will exploit this fog of war to outmaneuver outnumbered Ukrainian units, seizing ground and tightening the noose around key defensive lines in places like Pokrovsk and Chasiv Yar. The human cost will be immediate. Ukrainian troops, deprived of early warnings, are more exposed to relentless barrages. A soldier near Bakhmut can't dodge a hypersonic Kinzhal missile without knowing it's coming. Civilians face an even bleaker fate. Cities like Odessa and Dnipro, already battered, now endure freer Russian targeting of hospitals, schools, and heating plants. Especially cruel as winter looms. Air raid systems, which are reliant on U.S. data, will sound alarms later, if at all, leaving families with less time to reach shelters. The elderly, the disabled, and children will bear the brunt. Military analysts in Kyiv estimate that casualties could rise 20 to 30% in the coming weeks if the intelligence pause holds. Hundreds, maybe thousands of additional lives will be lost. Putin will seize this opportunity, escalating ballistic missile launches, drone sorties, and ground offensives to break Ukraine's spirit while its defenses are hobbled. Meatwave tactics will continue, knowing Ukraine's ammunition shortages weaken their ability to resist. Europe's scrambling to fill the gap with a €6 billion aid package finalized early in 2025. It includes 1.5 million artillery shells, air defense systems like Germany's Iris-T, and kit for Ukraine's battered brigades, plus 800,000 shells from non-EU nations via a Czech-led buying campaign. However, promises of F-16s from Denmark, Norway, and the Netherlands, 65 jets in total, remain mired in training delays, and these F-16s are unlikely to see action before summer. Sweden has pledged ASC-890 radar planes for surveillance, but no combat aircraft. While this aid buys time, it's no substitute for American AWACS, intelligence, or firepower. Europe's heart is in the right place, but its toolbox, that's another matter. Washington's decision reeks of politics over principle, a move that emboldens Putin and abandons an ally fighting not just for itself, but for the democratic world. Ukraine has proven its grit, repelling a Goliath with ingenuity and courage, but without U.S. support, that fight just got exponentially harder. The blood of the next wave of casualties will stain more than Russian hands. It'll mark the conscience of those who look away. For Ukraine, there's no pause in this war, only survival. And now, a steeper uphill climb than ever. It can be hoped that Trump's pause will be temporary. Another example of Washington's new way of doing business. But it remains an ugly example of how personal animosity can affect geopolitics. And most unforgivably, it places the lives of Ukrainian soldiers and civilians at needless risk. Hey, for the Kyiv Post, I'm Navy SEAL Chuck Farr, and I'll see you again at the point of impact.